Thank you.
Hello, everyone out there. Have you had a chance to purchase Love You More? Well, what are you waiting for? I need you to go right now to Amazon and find Love You More, Ella Johnson, and purchase my book. And you can get one for yourself. Remember to get one for the kids too, right? I appreciate your support. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Ella Johnson Show. Listen, I know you guys are probably taking a break from your Sunday football and everything, but I am so excited that you've taken time to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. If you're watching from Facebook, thank you. As always, I just need you to do me a favor. I want you to stay there, but I want you to share the broadcast because I know that you have people, family, friends that are on your timeline that need to hear this broadcast today. So just do me a favor and share it. If you're watching from YouTube, I also appreciate you. But I need you to do me a favor. Since you're already there, you might as well subscribe, right? Please, please, please subscribe. So that means that moving forward, you don't have to worry about it. You'll already know to tune in to the Ella Johnson Show. I am so excited today. As you guys saw, I have my book. It's still out there on Amazon. Love You More. That's my first children's book. I'm pretty excited about it, guys. I'm getting ready to start working on the second one, but I am so excited today. It is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and today I have some women that are joining me on the broadcast, as you can see, all beautiful, and they're going to share their stories, guys. Listen, domestic violence is one of those silent killers because so many people are suffering in silence. For whatever reason, they don't share it with anyone. And then before you know it, that person is passed and went through something and nobody ever knew. The reason I started doing these domestic violence shows is because my cousin was one of those people that I'm talking about. I had just recently seen her for Thanksgiving. I went home to Alabama, and that was on a Thursday. That weekend, we had fun. By Tuesday, she was on life support because when she went back home to Texas, she ended up getting killed by as a result of domestic violence. So I vowed to bring these shows so that those of you who are suffering in silence can get out before it's too late. Now, I want you to know domestic violence is a preventable public health issue. It is a public health issue, but it is preventable. And today we're going to talk about some of that. You're going to hear these stories, and you're going to find yourself in some of these stories because these ladies, they got out, but I want you to hear what they had to go through. Now, before you meet these beautiful women, I want to do my motivational message for today because, I always do a motivational message just because these shows are on Sunday and I want you to have something to think about for the rest of the week. So today, I want you to answer this question. Are you a carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean? Well, Ella, what in the world are you talking about? I'm so glad you asked, right? Well, let me share with you guys, because no matter who you are or what you're going through in life, you're either going to be the carrot, you're going to be an egg, or you're going to be a carrot bee. A coffee bee, because in life, we all respond differently to the pressures of life. Now, this is what I want you guys to do. I'll be very brief. I want y'all to stay with me, church. All right. So I want you to think about 3 pots of boiling hot water standing right here before me. Right. And in each one of these these pots of hot water, I'm going to put a carrot in one. I'm going to put an egg in the other one. And I'm going to put a coffee bean in the third one. Right. Now, each one of you can identify with one of these items, because you're either going to be one of them. Right. Now, let's talk about that so you can decide. Now, the carrot, I want you guys to think about a carrot. It's hard all the way through. This represents some of you. Some of you are hard. Nothing gets to you. Oh, I can handle that. You're strong. You were taught to be strong. You were taught it's not good to cry. Be tough. You're good. You got it. Right? But when you're placed in that hot water, you come out soft. Right? Because the boiling hot water represents the pressures of life that every one of us have to go through. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much education you have. You will go through something in life. Now, are you a carrot? Are you the person that's always hard to everybody? But as soon as some stuff starts happening to you, you get soft. And now you're crying every day. And now you're weak. And now you want to kill yourself and all these kinds of things. Now, let's talk about the egg. The egg is soft on the inside, but it has a hard exterior. Y'all know those people. You have this soft heart, but you won't let people in because of something that may have happened to you in life or something that someone's done to you. You're going to keep that shell hard. Now, let's talk about what happens to the egg when it's in that water. That egg ends up being hard all the way through. But guess what happens if you're in that water too long? You crack. It reminds me of the eggs I cooked just today. They always crack. I never get the eggs out just in time, right? But I want you guys to think about that. Are you the egg? Are you the person that you're soft? You start out really nice, but something happened to you in life. You became tough on the outside. But as soon as you're in that water, you end up cracking. Now, let's talk about the coffee bean. I want to talk to some coffee beans today. Coffee bean is very small, right? But isn't it powerful? Imagine how powerful a coffee bean is to make a whole pot of coffee, right? And the aroma that it gives off, it just goes. It wakes you up sometimes in the morning. But let's talk about what happens to the coffee bean when it's put in hot water. What happens to the coffee bean, Ella, when it's put in hot water? It changes the water. I want you guys to think about that. Some of you, when you are placed in the boiling hot water pressures of life, you don't allow it to change you. You change it. And that's the reason I wanted to do this show today, because these women that are sitting before us today, they are all coffee beans because they were placed in a very tough situation, but they did not allow it to take them out. They changed it, and they're here today to change somebody's life. So I hope y'all got that. You know how it is. You work all day for a motivational message and you're like, oh, we didn't get it. I hope y'all got it, right? But listen, when we come back, you are going to get to meet these beautiful women. This is a time for you to go get some water. Go call a friend and tell them you got to tune into the Ella Johnson show today. It's going to be pretty good today, right? But we'll be right back. It's time for the Ella Johnson show. I'm so excited that you've taken time out to tune in to the Ella Johnson show. I hope you enjoy the broadcast. You may laugh, you may cry, but I hope you'll be moved by what you hear. So sit back, relax, and I'll see you at the end of the show. You know, one day someone asked me, Ella, why do you like to have talk shows? Why is it so important for you that people come onto your show to tell their stories? I said, because people have to understand that things don't happen to you. They happen through you. So I like to be that platform for people to be used by God. And now it's time for the Ella Johnson Show, where we set the table for real talk conversations. Stay tuned. And we are back. Listen, if you are just tuned into the Ella Johnson Show, I am so glad that you tuned in with us today. But today we're talking about domestic violence. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. The women that are on my broadcast today and for the month, if you would like, are telling their true stories, how they survived domestic violence. Now, we definitely don't want anyone to stay in that situation you're in. But if you are a domestic violence survivor, or if you are in that situation right now and you know that we're talking to you, that you need to get out, I need you to call 1-800-799-SAFE. I have the number scrolling at the bottom of the screen, but I want you to tune in and text me, call me, whatever you have to do. If you're in a situation and you just don't know who you can talk to about it. But I want you guys to listen to these stories today because these women will inspire you. I have Symonia with me, Natasha and Monica. Symonia has been on the show, but she comes back today a married woman. And you know, I have to bring it up, Miss Symonia. She said on this show, hello, somebody. Oh, no, baby. I think Sherry said it too. One and done, baby. One and done. Never get married. But look at her. She's glowing. She's married. And she's not only just Symonia, but she's Dr. Symonia in the building today. Well, let me let you guys know she's an author. She's a motivational speaker. She's an ordained pastor. Yes. She's a wife, mother, grandmother. She has a nonprofit, Girl Me Too. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Doctor.
Thank you, Ella.
I know. She's always busy, guys. She's been was supposed to be on my show like 2-3 shows back, but she's very busy. So I'm very honored that you were able to be with us today. So good deal.
Thanks for having me.
Then we have the beautiful Miss Monica sitting over there. Listen, guys, she's 8 months pregnant. I told her when she came on the broadcast, I was like, you are the most beautiful pregnant woman.
Thank you.
Because, you know, right about now, I'm probably got some chicken in my hand, or especially at this stage, because she's 8 months. And this is when it gets rough, but she makes it look easy. But Miss Monica she's 29 years old, guys. She's absolutely gorgeous. She was 7 years. Okay, 7 years that she suffered as a domestic violence victim, but she is sitting before us today as a victor. You know, she survived it. One night, she says that there was a tragedy happened that left her almost dead. So you're going to hear her story today on the Ella Johnson Show, and now she's an advocate doing shows and telling other people her story so that they will be encouraged to get out. Welcome to the show, Miss Monica.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow. Good deal. Good deal. And she told us, she gave it away to us. She's having a girl and the baby is Miss Eris. I tried to get her to name it Ella, but sometimes it doesn't work, right? But she is here today and she's going to share her story. Then we have Miss Natasha. I love the way she says it on her Facebook because she doesn't put it all together. She's like, Natasha, honestly, I actually looked at that one day and I was like, how do you say that? It took me a minute to realize she was just splitting it up, right? Y'all work with me, right? But I am so excited to have you. She has 4 kids, 2 grandkids. She worked for 20 years in the healthcare industry, 4 years real estate. She is training now to be a life skills coach. She's already a certified transformation life coach, and she's an author, motivational speaker. 9 years, guys. I know it's 9 years. 9 years she suffered as well as a domestic violence victim, and she survived it. But you're not going to believe her story. It was actually featured in the Chicago Tribune, and her abuser, we'll get into that, but he's in a different place today. I will say that. Welcome to the Ella Johnson Show, Miss Natasha.
Thank you. How are you?
Awesome. Now, these ladies are acting shy. I don't know why. Because right before the show, they were just, right? So but I am excited. I just want to say to each one of you, you look beautiful, and you ladies were here ready to go. We've been chatting a little throughout the week, and they are very eager to be here to share their stories because in their minds and all they want to do is save someone else from what they had to go through. So I really hope that you guys listen to this broadcast with open ears and an open heart. And by the end of the broadcast, you're ready to make a change, right? Because that change is going to make sure that you get out before it's too late. Now, Dr. Symonia, I know you're from my neck of the woods. She's from Alabama. Like we're
Yeah.
like in the same. She's in Beatrice, and we used to beat them all the time.
Bird, actually.
I mean, after all this time,
Bird, actually.
yeah. I'm actually still bragging about it, because I was a cheerleader, and then, we just have that in us. But she's my homegirl, and she is here. And Symonia, I want you to tell everybody what it's like growing up in Alabama, because we're from a very small town. And what was it like for you growing up there?
Well, I didn't quite grow up there. I visited. I grew up in Detroit, but I was back and forth. But I will tell you, it is a completely different world. In our day as teenagers, I knew people who didn't have running water in their homes.
Yeah.
Didn't have bathrooms in their homes. And this was normal, so it was a very different world, very humbling to come from there into where we are now. It's just a reminder what God can do.
Oh yeah. I was one of those people. I was one of those people that for a while I didn't have running water. And that's why we're some of the most humble people we ever meet, because we had very, very poor beginnings. But we learned a lot of valuable lessons as young people growing up in that environment. So talk to me a little bit about what it was like growing up in your house and your interactions with your mom when you were there.
So I'm very honest and open. Sometimes I'm too honest and open. I grew up in a violent household. My mother was abusive, physically, emotionally, and it was very hard. I don't know. I've always been a fighter. So the first time, and she's probably does not know this, the first time I ever like balled up my fist and thought about hitting my mother back, I was 11. I've been tied to my bed and beaten, made to sit in closets, all different types of things. And it gave me that hard outer shell. But it also allowed me to be that coffee bean, to change the world around me, to change what type of person I became, to change what type of mother I became. Because the thing that I have to also say pertaining to my mother, we did come from Alabama, where she actually grew up in Alabama, and she's not too far removed from when they were in slavery. So there's a certain mentality that is put in you that you don't even realize is there. Yes. Because of your upbringing, or because of the way you think this is right or that is right. So even though I know I wasn't treated the best, I do believe she did the best that she could with what she did, the best that she knew how with what she had. So it was.
Well, was Dad around?
No. No. No.
How much of that?
A lot of people get that confused. I grew up in a two-parent household, and a lot of people think because you grew up in a two-parent household, you got better chances of. It wasn't that in my case, and people need to understand that. I love my parents to death, and I know they love me to death, and I know they did the best that they could. But when you have those blockages of you don't know how to communicate your feelings in a household, you don't know how to show the expression of love. Those are things that I was missing in a two-parent household. So
right.
It's that.
That's a good point. That's a good point, Natasha, because that's usually the next question when people ask, well, where was Dad? And that doesn't necessarily mean anything, because you're right. There's so many people that have been on my broadcast that had a loving, that even they weren't even poor, and they went through so much, got molested and all kinds of things. So you're absolutely right to bring that point, because there are a lot of single parents out here that do a great job raising their kids without all of that. So do you think your mom was angry because your dad wasn't there, Symonia? She was just kind of taking it out on you? I mean, do you have any idea why she was acting the way she was?
This is a live broadcast, huh? So,
you know how we do it, boo.
In my opinion, this doesn't make it fact. My mother has always been jealous of who I am. I am very outspoken. I'm very independent, and I always have been. And as I became an adult, I said, she looks at me and see everything that she's not, instead of looking in the mirror and seeing everything that she is. Because my mother is beautiful. I look just like my mother. But she's a beautiful woman. She's a hardworking woman, you know, a lot of different things. But there are a lot of things that she missed out on that made her who she is. And I haven't always had the mental capacity to deal with her on the level that she needs to be dealt with. And so that has also made me disrespectful at times. You can't raise a grown person, you know, and a person is only going to go as far as they want to go, you know. So a lot of times her actions beget, like, I'll never say she deserves my disrespect, because I don't believe she deserves it.
Right.
She was my mother, and she was there. Good mother, bad mother, she was there. But I will say she earns it a lot more often than not. She earns the disrespect.
So when you, because I know growing up in Alabama, there's just certain things as a child you just don't do. And hitting your parent is one of those things that would get you, you know, knocked out. Yeah.
No,
so when you did that at 11 years old and you just kind of went back, what happened?
She didn't know I did that. She didn't know I did that.
Oh, she didn't know you did it.
She didn't know. No, my hands were still to my side. It was only a thought in my mind. When I did hit her back, I was 16. I was 2 weeks before my 17th birthday. And things just
so it sounds like it never got better. So it progressively got worse. It did get better.
It didn't get better. Well, let me rephrase that. When I hit her back, she never raised a hand to me again.
Did she cry? Did she ask you, why did you do that? What was the communication like between you two after you hit her?
Oh, no, it was a full-blown fight. So I was called out of my name. I was disrespected and I was just tired of it. And she asked me a question, and I responded probably more loudly than her liking. So she grabbed me by my throat and began to choke me. And I hit her. I snapped and I hit her. And we fought.
Well, that sounds like self-defense to me.
Well, it was definitely self-defense, but it was, to this day, the most hurtful act of my life, to feel that I needed to defend myself against the person that was supposed to protect me. She tried to scratch my face, and that was the first time I realized she was jealous of me based on her own what she taught me growing up. Anytime you get in a fight with somebody, if they try to scratch your face, they're jealous of how you look. Those were her words. And so they came back. Yeah, they came back because she literally grabbed my face and did this. And only by the grace of God, she didn't, scar my face that day. And after it was all over, like, I had a complete meltdown. I moved out, and I've actually never lived with my mother. I've lived with her a total of 6 months since I was 16. That includes summers, everything. But I had an entire meltdown, and I told God that I would never raise my hand to her, no matter what she ever did or said. I just needed her from raising her hand to me. And it was a very hurtful moment. And I don't think that she ever realized how, like, that hurt me more than anything she ever did to me. It hurt.
I totally can understand that, because you wanted to have a better relationship. Was there ever a time where you guys actually did have a good mom-daughter relationship?
Girl, no, she ain't talking to me right now. She went around telling people I'm mean, and I'm not her child. I'm not her daughter. I'm just some child she birthed.
Oh. How does that make you feel when you hear that?
It is what it is, She's never truly been a mother to me. She's never truly been a mother to me. She's had some moments, but her bad has far outweighed her good. And,
I really do. Are you hoping that it gets better even now? I mean, you're married now. No.
That just happened in April. No.
Oh.
I have no hopes for my bio parents is what I actually call them, the egg and sperm donor. So I have no hopes for either one of them. I just talked to my aunt on my the sperm donor side, and she said, "So if something happened to my brother, you wouldn't come?" I said, "Girl, no. For what?" Like, you have to get to a place. We talk about the book Absolutely You, and there's a chapter in the book called Emotional Immunity, where we give people emotional immunity because of the titles they have, and we never stop to think if they're fulfilling the roles of those titles. Wow. Now, I'm not gonna completely take away motherhood from her. I will say that her bad has outweighed her good, but she was still there. Right. Him, on the other hand, he wasn't even there. He popped in sporadically, and neither of them want to own their shortcomings as a parent. In the book, I talk about separating from your mother and father, because the Bible teaches us to honor thy mother and thy father. The other part of that verse is do not provoke thy child, but people forget about that part.
No, but I remember that part very well, though. Yeah, right. You're right. People don't complete it. Yeah, it's true.
But sometimes honoring thy mother and thy father is separating, because it never makes me feel good to disrespect her in any way. It never makes me feel good.
Well, I just want to say to your mom, if she just by chance is watching this broadcast, I really hope that you guys are able to resolve your issue. I really do, because life is short, and we only have one mom, we only have one dad, and whether none of us have the situations that we would have picked, right? And so we just have to all work with the ones that we're given. And I just pray that God will move on her heart to one day see you differently before she leaves this world. I really do. So let me ask you a question. So now at some point, you haven't learned anything from her. Like, now you want to date. Now you're starting to feel boys. You're like, okay. Now, when we are at that age, now I know when I was 16, how I looked at guys, but when you were 16 and you're, fighting with mom, how were you viewing guys? Like, was that something you didn't want a part of? Or was that something you were interested in? Or is that something you were very interested in? Like, what were your feelings about that?
Well, it's so I didn't know until I was an adult that my friends thought that I was a prude, but okay, I'll take that. So I've had a boyfriend since I was like 10, okay? But don't touch me, don't comment on my anatomy, don't there was this whole list of rules. So I just wanted you to be there, but so I wasn't interested in the physical aspect of it. Right. Even at 16, I wasn't into the physical aspect of boys, just the companionship type of thing. So,
but at some point you did get interested.
Yes, at some point I did.
Right. So let's talk about your abuser. Let's jump right into that. Okay. Where did you guys meet?
Across the street from my house.
How convenient, right?
Yes, I think we met around Halloween, and he was just gorgeous. He lied about everything but his name. He even lied about having a job.
He lied about having a job?
A child.
A child. I think he said
child, but he said that he did. I've never met a man that lied and said they actually had a child and didn't.
Exactly. That's like a reverse. Okay.
Yeah.
So when did you become interested in something more than just a companion? Like let's go farther than this. When did you get interested in that?
To be honest, Ella, I didn't probably until I was about 30, but I did what I thought I was supposed to do being an adult in a relationship. If that
which is
being intimate with a man.
So you did it out of obligation because you thought that that's your role?
Yes.
So you didn't enjoy it then?
No. Mm-mm. But
so
that
you were
comes
faking.
From
Did you fake it? Were you faking it? I mean,
Yeah, well,
I'm a very good faker, so I can relate.
No, it's a very valid question.
Yeah,
it comes from being assaulted, being sexually assaulted and things like that. And so even when I had my son at 21, and the running joke was she let somebody touch her long enough to get pregnant. So it was a well-known fact that I was very sexually reserved. I was not, even when I got married, I don't think we consummated the marriage for like a week. I did not have a sex drive till I was almost 30. And so
now I got a lot of questions from that now. All right, let's go back. Okay, so back to the faking. Mm-hmm. So can't guys tell when you're faking? I mean, like, did that have an impact on your relationship?
No, I'm a poet. So I'm a poet. So
okay, I already know.
So no, I'm
okay. That says a lot right there. I got it.
I could get an Academy Award,
So let's go back to this assault, because we didn't talk about that. Who were you assaulted by?
We are not going to talk about it.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right. Yeah. So now you're with this guy, and you guys are. Is your abuser the one that you married?
No.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about the abuser. So when was the first time he did something that you were like, what? That moment. Tell us what that moment was. I know he didn't.
I want to say he backhanded me.
Ooh.
So I have a mouth. Always have. I came out the womb with it. And
but that still doesn't give him a right to hit you, though.
Excuse me. Nothing justifies you putting your hands on someone other than you physically defending yourself. So nothing justifies that. But I think I was only about 18 when he hit me, and it left a mark on the side of my face. I think I ended up like kicking him out the bed when this happened. And it was a big thing. Like, of course, everybody knew about it. And his mom said to him, if you have to hit her, you don't need to be with her. You need to leave her alone. And he said, but I love her. And his mother told me it was the first time he had ever told her that he loved someone. And so she told him, if you love her, keep your hands to yourself. It wasn't the last time that I was hit. I don't want to come across like I'm making excuses, because I don't feel like there's any excuse. But I do know part of it is being young and being around, other people that do the same thing. And so you think that it's okay. And our violence, it would escalate. He did I think I left him at someone's house, and I took the car. And when I came back to get him, he felt I was gone too long. And so we're driving and we're arguing, and he hauls off and hits me. And I grabbed the steering wheel. Like, boy, I would kill us both. You got me messed up. So I was,
That's not funny, but I guess it's got to take a moment.
I know, so you think about it in hindsight, like,
it was your reaction was just like, oh, right. I hear you. Yeah.
I've broken all the dishes in the house in the middle of the kitchen floor, and watched him walk in there barefoot. And he was like, something just told him to turn the light on, because I was just sitting in the bed like this, learning.
Wait a minute. So you put it on the floor on purpose so that he would walk on it?
No, I broke it because I was angry. And at the time, I didn't know how to channel my anger. So I broke it.
Right.
When I would get really angry, I would break things. And it started with me breaking my own things. And then as I got older, I felt like, well, I'm mad at you, so I should break your things. And so then I started doing that. So I had some unhealthy traits, myself. And the more that the violence escalated, the more I escalated. There was a time that he had me on the floor and he was just punching me from side to side, just punching me. Ooh. And it all started over a text message. No, excuse me, not a text message. Somebody beeped me. Y'all know how far back that goes.
Oh, that's a while. The beeper.
And I sleep and my beeper is downstairs. So he's like, who number is this? Who number is? I don't know, boy, I'm in the bed, you know? So it turned into a full-blown fight. In this particular time, you know, like I said, he has me on the floor and he's just hitting me. And I grab him. I don't know where I got the strength. I just grab him and ram him through a picture window. And when he goes through the window, his gun is laying on the table. And I pick up his gun and he goes hightailing it out the door. And I'm just like, boom, 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 behind him. Lucky for him, I didn't know how to use a gun. So I missed him. Then I called the police and I told them, I just shot at him and missed. Come get him because he's going to kill me. Yes, I literally called the police and said that. And they came and they ended up arresting him. So, you know.
Wait a minute. So listen, I understand that strength because you had a lot of bent up anger. I mean, it sounds like. For you to get, I mean, because a lot of people are, you know, we're not typically strong as a man. So for you to be able to have that kind of strength to push him into a wall like that, and you saw the gun there, I don't know, the gun would have made me step back just a minute. I don't know, me seeing the gun, but you didn't think that. You were just like, no, did you think at that moment he was going to kill you or something? Or you just tired of him? Yeah.
He threatened to kill me. He's threatened to kill me and to kill himself. You know, on several occasions. Right. To be honest, Ella, it's not a point of whether I had fear or not. Once my anger builds up inside of me, I have a I don't care mentality about myself. Yeah. So I wasn't thinking life or death, whether he's going to kill me or not. All I was thinking was, you are going to stop hitting me. And now that I'm in the position of power, I'm going to kill you. And that's the end of the discussion in my mind.
So, were you actually trying to get him though? Or were you just trying to scare him?
Oh no, I was trying to kill him. His aunt just asked me the other day, like the family thinks it's hilarious, not just the fact that a woman having the strength to fight back. Right, but his aunt, I say his aunt, our aunt, but his aunt by blood, she just asked me a few, probably last year. She said, is it true that you shot at a man that was trying to physically assault you? I said, your nephew sure did. His family, mainly his father, was always scared I was going to kill him.
Yeah. Wow. So you got that reverse thing because it seems like he was probably more scared of you.
He started it.
Right.
Like I never swung first. It was always something that I said that set him off. Even something as common as calling him an MFer, you know, then it became in his mind, I was disrespecting his mother, you know, just like petty stuff. And, you know, he would just haul off and, you know, hit me. And why, I don't know, because he did once admit that of all the women he ever dated, I was the only one that he feared. Because he would sleep behind a locked door. Like once everything was over, he would sleep, you know, he would sleep in the house, but he would stay in a locked door because he was worried what I might do in the middle of the night or something of that sort. You know, but you can't, you know, I told him what all raising my mama didn't do, no man is going to finish, you know, and that was just the bottom line.
Right. So, right. So how long did you guys stay together after all of this? I mean, through how much time passed that you actually with this man going through this?
About 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
Fighting all of this. What kinds of things would he say to you? Because I know before the broadcast, we were talking about how Because I was giving you guys the example of how when I would go out clubbing back in my teenage years, and I would come home and my mom would just fuss, 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 fuss. And I would rather just take a whipping. I'm just gonna be honest, because I was like, listen, all of that, it was just too emotional, right? I just rather get a whipping and get rid of the pain and go to sleep and throw up or whatever I'm gonna do. So for you, what did he say to you that hurt you even more than the beatings?
Well, actually, when you asked me the question earlier about did I marry my abuser, the answer, I said no, but the answer is yes. But the difference is the one that I married was not physically abusive. He was emotionally abusive. Okay. And that was the one that used to say the god awful, hurtful things. I'm not the person that almost caused you to kill yourself. He's told me nobody would ever want me, a divorced mother with 2 different baby daddies. He would take my life, my past, and throw it in my face in the most vile way. And a lot of times it began to mentally weigh on me until I had to realize that he was the one with the problem. Right. You know, it wasn't me. And nobody would want me. Like, I'm smart, I'm beautiful, what do you mean? You know, but I had to get there because I was a woman that was now divorced with 2 children, and they didn't share the same father. Like, literally, we grew up with 3 last names in the household. Right. And you know, that plays on you psychologically, you know. So he just said vile things, and they weighed on me, and they stayed with me for years until I began to write about them, you know.
That's good. Yeah. That's always a good way to heal. I know Natasha was telling me earlier that she journals. So tell me that moment when you finally said, you know what, this is not happening anymore. I'm done. I got to get out of here. Tell us that day and that moment when you decided that.
From the physical abuser, it had nothing to do with me. Had absolutely nothing to do with me. He had cheated on me several times, and he cheated and he got a baby. And everybody hid it from me. Like, even his mother, because they just knew I was gonna kill the man. Like, I know he wouldn't do this. And
you're white crazy, boy. You better keep this one.
Like, you know, and so when I confronted that situation, I did try to kill him, but he would, well, let me rephrase that. I wanted to kill him. He wouldn't come near me because he already knew. So then I tried to kill myself because I thought that I couldn't breathe if he didn't love me. Like, that's how much, you know, how deep it was. And so when I was in the hospital and he would call to check on me, the staff began to notice the decline. So then I wasn't even allowed to talk to him in the hospital because it would mentally, just hearing his voice would mentally take me down. And when I came home, you know, of course, we're still dealing with the other girl and the baby and all of this. She was like 8 months pregnant, Monica. And she actually had her baby shower on my birthday. And she had her child on November 28th, which is exactly 14 days after my birthday. But the straw that broke the camel's back for the relationship was while she was in labor, another girl that he was cheating on both of us with walked into her delivery room and said, "How long is this going to take?" And he said, "I don't know." She said, "Well, give me the keys." And he gave them to her. And I was flabbergasted. I said, I would have never done that. She put her life on the line to bring your child in the world, and you would disrespect her like that? It gave me a clearer picture of who he was.
Yes.
I couldn't see who he was with me because I couldn't see past my love for him.
Right.
But when I saw him handle her that way, and I didn't even like her, but it was the point. If you can do that to her, you can do it to me. And he's asked me, Do you ever wish that you'd given us another chance? No. I barely survived you the first time. And somebody would have ended up dead in real life. Like, not just talk, but in real life. So it was the best thing, for everyone. But the straw that broke the camel's back, thank you. The straw that broke the camel's back didn't even have anything to do with me.
Now, this is interesting, and I want my guests to hear this. I want you to tell everybody how you came up with the name for your nonprofit, Girl Me Too. This is interesting.
So, I was dating this man, and I went to a poetry event this young lady was giving, and she was going through a hard time. And I was like, you need somebody to talk to. I'm there, da 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 da. And we started talking about poetry just to break the ice. And his name came up, and she's talking. And I was like, well, I just think people don't really know him. And she was like, oh no, I know him. And I said, did y'all date or something? And she was like, yeah, we broke up December 21st. And I said, of what year? This was like February. I'm like, of what year? Because I know you're not talking about the year that just passed. So long story short, we were dating the same guy at the same time. And instead of us fighting, as women often do, we supported each other through that heartbreak. Yes. Most people will listen for a week, maybe two, then they tired of hearing it. Well, it was her life and it was my life, so we never got tired of hearing it. And we talked like till 5 a.m, just about our situation. We called, we checked on each other, did you eat today? Different things like that. And one day we were just having a conversation, and she says, I want the gas back that I used to drive to his house. I said, girl, me too. I want the dirt back that fell from under my shoes when I walked into his apartment. She was like, girl, me too. We just started, and I was like, oh my God, let's do a book. Let's just make it a whole organization. And so that was how Girl Me Too was born. It's about relating to each other. We don't have to. I believe that if we truly hear each other's stories, we can have compassion and understanding, even if it's not our way of thinking or our way of life. We can better understand each other instead of always attacking each other. Because we as women, we will attack each other over a good for nothing man that's playing us both. Right. And we mad at each other, but we both deal with him. And there's something wrong in that psychology of things. If you can forgive him, you should be able to forgive her.
Forgive her, absolutely.
The matter is, she has no obligations to you whatsoever.
Right.
He does.
He does. That's right. Yeah. I thought that was so good to share, because it's twofold great. Because number one, it talks about forgiveness. And I think that's probably what helped you heal from him. Was like, you know what? Why am I going to be mad at her? What she did is help me see what I was really crying over. And it makes you mad, right? That's like, now I don't eat meat. I just eat fish now, right? So now I'm mad when I see a hamburger, because I'm like, I got all of this inside of me blabbing, because of something that I just didn't know, right? And when you know better, you do better.
You do better.
Right? Right. So I appreciate all of that. We're going to come back to you, Symonia, because like I said, at the end, I have questions for all of our survivors so that we can help our audience. But we're going to move on to Miss Monica. Miss Monica's, we don't want her to go in labor on the Ella Johnson show, even though that would be kind of cute, right? Like, I mean, every live show is looking for that moment. Mine could be birth, right? But now, if you're waiting on me to tell you what to do, you would think after having 6 kids, I would know. But all I can tell you to do is breathe, baby. Holla. Holla if you need to. That's all I'm going to tell you. We have the doctor in the house, though. Maybe she'd be able to help us. But anyway, so Monica, I am so excited that you were able to join us today and share your story with us. Tell us a little bit about your childhood, because I want everybody to start there. Like, what was it like for you growing up in your household?
It was really nice. I had my mom and my dad, but I mostly had my mom. My dad he was there, but he really wasn't there a lot, you know. We grew up Pentecostal, so it was really
Uh-oh.
reserved. Like I did at 13, I didn't have a boyfriend, you know, you didn't really know too much about boys, you know. We just knew, you know, you have to be married to be with somebody, you know. It
Right.
was always very religious, but you know, it was a really loving home. I want to say around 16, maybe 15, my dad left us to go maybe start another family.
Oh,
Uh
wow.
yeah, he disappeared for a little bit, you know, but we've reconciled our relationship. We're better now, but you know, around 16 to 20, I want to say, I really didn't hear from my dad. We just had our mom and my grandma and my grandpa mostly, but mostly my mom, you know.
Well, it
She was
sounds
always
like you had it sounds like you had a household where you had a lot of support. That's what it sounds
Mhm.
like. Yeah. You had a
Yeah.
lot of support. And as a teenager, I know that's helpful. I mean, I know that you guys were Pentecostal. I don't
Mhm.
know a lot of Pentecostal people, Simonia, but I've heard how it is. It's very reserved. It's like you do nothing, you talk about nothing but marriage and God,
Mhm.
pretty much. So were you curious about boys though, growing up in this household?
Yeah, because I mean, I did go to public high school, you know, so
You
you
saw them and you're just like, okay. But you didn't
yes.
have anybody that you could really be honest with and say, look, I really want like to know more, because it was just
Mhm.
kind of like you didn't. So as you went, so it sounds like you had a good household growing up. Now, as you were getting older, you
Mhm.
started, when you're out of your mom's house or when you're of age, now you can start dating guys. Tell me about your first experience with a
Um,
guy, somebody that you liked.
so my first boyfriend was I actually two times divorced. So my first boyfriend I had when I was 16. I felt like I was real open with my mom, so I was like, "Hey mom, you know, I had liked this guy. Oh, I really like this guy. I want him to be my boyfriend, but you know, it was like my mom and dad have to meet him. So
Okay.
that night, you know, he comes over to meet my mom and dad, and my dad, he has a machete next to him just because
Oh,
he's like, yeah, you know, acting on top, but never said anything. My dad just sat there and looked at him, and it was mostly my mom talking to him. She's like, hey, you know, if you're gonna be with Monica, you know, we have rules. You know, we had rules. I would go say I wanted to go have a date with him. I had to bring my sister along. You know, it
okay.
was like always, you know, I was 16, so I understood. You know, he was the first guy I actually married, and we were fine until I got married at 18 with him.
Yeah, I
And
was gonna say you had to have been pretty young to get married. Is that
yeah.
because you just wanted to have sex? You got married because I mean,
Yeah, because we were trying to get our own place, and well, I
okay,
was 18 and we were graduating, and he was going off to college, so he's like, "Hey, I want you to come with me," and I didn't want to leave my household without being married, you know, and then
okay,
you know being intimate with somebody. So
right.
we got married as soon as I graduated. We were both the same age. I was actually a month older than him. And we moved to our own. Well, actually, we moved to our own place, and since we got married, it declined. Like the relationship became horrible. He got lazy. I mean, he was working. He ended up not going to college because he didn't want to. I don't know. The scholarship just wasn't what he was looking for. So we
Mm.
end up getting an apartment here, and we were married for 2 years, but he just changed. I was working. I was working like maybe from 10 in the no 7 in the morning to like 10 at night. It was my first job, you know.
So you were
And
kind of carrying you guys. He wasn't
mhm.
working and you were?
He would work on and off, but like say
Ugh.
he was working. One day he got up and he's just like, it was the middle of the month. Rent was about to be due, and he's like, you know what? I don't want to go to work today. And I was like, you got to go to work because they're going to fire you and the rent's coming up, you know? And he's like,
Wow.
nah, I don't feel like it, you know? So they
Oh
started
no.
fighting and I would be upset. I'm like, hey, I can't support us both because the apartment, you know, we're so young and our apartment was a little
Right.
pricey. So he would be very upset. He's like, "You're not gonna boss me." He just was verbally very rude. Within the first year, and then coming into the second year of marriage, it got worse. He was okay. Let's say he's 6'3", and he weighed about like 300 pounds. So he was a
Oh,
big guy. He was a football player all through high school. So when we would fight, I was I was a little reserved on fighting because I was scared of him, you know. And then I remember one day we got Whataburger. You know how they give those packages of ketchup, those like.
yeah.
So we got like, we got a couple. He got very upset because he just wanted to have his friends over every night and he wanted to be a rapper. So he was, always trying to record in the living room with his friends. And I was like, hey, we need to stop this. You're spending money trying to become a rapper or, do all these things. And I mean, you're not gonna make it. I mean, I wasn't trying
Oh
to be
no.
negative, but he quit his job to do this, and he wasn't going anywhere.
And she smiles as she says it, like, you're not gonna make it. You're a loser. You know that, right?
And it's just
Oh wow.
he would probably spend more than $1,000 on a new computer, a mic, but none of
Oh
his friends
wow.
were pitching in. His friends were just coming over to smoke and drink and have a good time, making little music here and there. So when his friends left the next morning, I was like, hey, I don't like that. Like, you really need to start working because I can't support you and then try to support you to become, what do you want to become at the moment? If you want to become a rapper or spend money, for that you need to work too,
That's right. That's
and
right.
so
That's not unreasonable. Yeah, that's
he
reasonable.
gets all the food from Whataburger, gets the packages, throws them around the apartment and starts stomping on them. So there's ketchup all over the apartment and
Oh my
he's like,
gosh.
okay, go clean that,
Oh gosh.
very ugly. And then
Now,
say,
was he abusive though? I mean, I know that he would say a lot of mean things, but did he
mhm.
hit you? This guy,
Yeah,
the first one?
yeah, he would. He ended up hitting me. Maybe it happened for 2 months that he would maybe like backhand me, hit me in my mouth if I like talked back, And that just like I at that point I was young and I felt like more independent or like more stronger around that time. So I ended up I what made me leave him was the night of Christmas. It was Christmas Eve. My company had a party and he would always like say I got off at 11 because we had one car, which was a car given from his mom. We would like I would probably get off at 11 at night. He wouldn't pick me up till 1 in the morning, and he would not answer
Ugh.
his phone or nothing or anything. I was like upset. I was really mad. So it just happened like that. So then the night of Christmas Eve, I had a company party and we're like, he was supposed to pick me up and we were supposed to get ready together and come together. He ended up not answering his phone. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go. This is my company party. I'm going to go and have a good time. So I go, he calls me. He's like, I'm outside. You need to come outside right now. If I'm not there, you're not going to be there. And I was like, no,
Oh.
I'm going to come. I'm going to stay. You can go ahead and, do whatever you want. And he's like, well, if you don't come out, I'm gonna go get your stuff and throw it at your mom's house, all over her yard. And I was like, do it. I was like, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. So he ends up on Christmas Eve, goes to his house, packs all my stuff, goes to my mom's house and throws it everywhere, all over the front yard. And he's like, there, I'm done. He's like, I'm done with you. So I was like, okay, that's fine. So that actually got me to leave him and never go back because before that like I said, he would pick me up at 1 o'clock. I had to be at work at 7 in the morning the next day. So I was like really upset. I was like, I'm not gonna be doing this. So he picks me up at 1 in the morning. This is like a week before all this happened. Picks me
Right.
up at 1 in the morning. And I didn't even look at him. I just got in the car. I'm looking the other way, and he's trying to hug me and kiss me and everything. I'm like, I just pushed him away a little, like not in hard push him. I just like don't touch me. I just want to go home, go to sleep. I have work at 7. I don't even want to fight. So then we get home. I lay down in the bed, and then I'm facing the wall. I'm not even facing him, and I'm falling asleep, and I just feel this really hot hand slap me very hard while I was about to fall asleep. And I was like, "Why'd you slap me?" I got like it scared me. I was like, "Why'd you slap me?" And he's like, "Oh, because he pushed me in the car." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I just like I pushed you away because I didn't want you to touch me." I was like,
Right.
so I was just so fed up. I started packing my things, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm leaving you. I don't want to do this no more." And he's like, "Sayonara, B word," you know. And
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah, so I start walking around the living room. We lived with his parents at the time, so when we would fight, they would hear everything, but they didn't really,
They
say
didn't get
much.
involved. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would be scared of him too, but
What do you guys? I want to stop. I want to ask the girls. What would you think of that? What do you think of that? That she was living with his parents, and they didn't get involved. What do you think about that, Natasha,
I
Symonia?
was in the same situation. Like, I mean, and he used his weight to intimidate the people around him, and I seen what he would do to his parents. So it was like, okay, like they can't help
So
because he
they didn't. They weren't even your protection anymore. Then when you
right,
saw what they did, wow. Oh
right.
wow, this is crazy. That parents are enabling kids to be abusive. Now
But
Mm-hmm.
that's
he's
a whole
not
different
abusive. He
show.
he grew up watching his parents do the same thing. So that's
Wow.
how he got into
Wow.
being the way
Now
he was.
that's different. So
Mm-hmm.
Monica, now you're done with this guy and you somewhere along the line you get married again, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell us about how you transitioned from that first marriage to now meeting and how long in between did you wait to get involved again?
It was horrible. I left him. I left my first husband, and then a week later, because this guy that I'm the second marriage, very bad abuser. He was actually the security guard for the hotel I worked at. I was the front desk manager, and he was
Okay.
security. So he knew every time I got picked up late. He was there for mostly the whole ending of my marriage. So he thought
Now
he
this
was.
is key. I don't want to stop you there, but this is key
Mhm.
because when I was reading your story, I that was one of the things I highlighted because he saw you coming a mile away. He knew
Mhm.
that you were sad. He knew that you were depressed. He knew what you went through with that first one. So he's gonna know everything to say to make you feel like he's a winner. Is that what he
Mhm.
did?
Yep, that's exactly
Yeah.
what he did. He
Right.
swept me off my feet, and
Yeah.
just tried to be that knight in shining armor. And he manipulated me in so many ways. Like when we first got together, I think within 2 months, I was already living with him, and he didn't have his own place, so we lived with his parents. Because I would come over, and he was very, very jealous guy. He was sweet, and then he just turned into this very jealous guy. Like, say somebody opened the door for me, like we go to the store and somebody opens the door for us. Obviously, a man is gonna open the door for a woman. He would be like, "Oh, so you know that guy? Is that why he opened the door for you? So he can uh put it in my face that he slept with you?" And just this whole scenario in his head. And I was like, "What are you even talking about? How did that? You could just say thank you for holding the door, or
Right, right. I know
yeah."
you mentioned that you couldn't even talk to his dad because he would accuse you of
Mm-hmm.
like being I'm like with your dad, dude, like really? So he was very possessive and jealous.
Very.
Now, did that turn violent at some point though?
Yes, it would become very like violent. So, um, I would go, to his room, and then he's like, "Oh, so I heard you talking to my dad." I'm like, "Yeah, I just said hi, and how was your day?" And that was it. And he's like, "No, I heard you giggling." And then so I was in the beginning, I would argue back just because like I was like, I'm a Taurus and I'm hard headed. I mean, it has no excuse. Like, he's no excuse to hit me, but I was always fighting back. I was like, "No, what are you talking about? Like, what is wrong with your head?" And then any little thing I told him that hurt his feelings, he'd backhand, like slap me in my mouth and just try to shut me up or start pulling my hair and he'll pull my hair and kind of have me held down and just like, "What were you
Oof.
saying? What were you saying?" And I'm like, you know what, I'm not saying nothing no more. That I'm done fighting, you know.
So
And then,
you would physically try to match him by hitting
mm-hmm,
him back, but of course, I think that probably would make him hit harder, right, Simonia?
yeah,
Like when you try to hit somebody, they're like, "Oh," especially if you miss. Oh
yeah,
boy, here we
it's
go.
yeah.
It's yeah.
One time I actually even hit him in, you know, his area, and I don't know if I missed or what, and it just made him more angry when he started like hitting me even harder. And I thought maybe if I hit him there, he'd stop, but no, it made him like turn into the Hulk or something. Just
So let
get
me ask you
even
a question: did he do it around people? Did he hit you around people?
in the beginning. No, he was always trying to hide it. He knew that if my family found out that he was hitting me or being abusive in any
It
way,
was a wrap.
he knew, like, because my brother, he's actually he was in the Marines at the time, you know, he was a Marine. So, and then I have a brother-in-law that was more like a brother to me, and he was even jealous of my brother and my brother-in-law. You know, I
Oh,
couldn't, because my brother, he would call me, you know, at night, because he's in California, so time change is 2 o'clock, 2 hours difference. But I would
3.
answer my brother because he's in the Marines, and of
Right.
course I want to hear from him when we get the chance, you know.
Right.
And he's like, "Why is your brother calling you all the time?" I'm like, "Cause he's my brother," you know, like. And that was the problem. I felt like now that I look at it, I just feel like he wanted to take me away from my family.
Of
That way I
course.
have, you know, he just had me to himself, even though,
That's
you know,
exactly what he was trying to do.
trying to
Absolutely.
isolate me,
Now
you
I want
know.
to share these photos, Monica, because you
Hmm.
sent them to me. You said that it was okay. This is what happens, guys, and this is for my viewers. I want you guys to see that these are the kind of things that happen when you are in an abusive relationship. Look at her leg. And this is the one that just had me in tears, Monica, to see your face. Such a beautiful woman.
Hmm.
And to see your face. I want you to talk to us about this time when
Hmm.
this happened. Tell us about this.
So that was the night, August 9th, 2021. So it actually happened last year. That happened a year ago. Um, we were already about three. We married in June, so July, August. We were like 2 months married. No, we were a year and 2 months married already. Um, we were like the last month this happened. We were already I was already over all the hitting and all the manipulation, and he cheated on me plenty of times with, I hate to say it, but with other men. I did catch him, and then so, you know, that night of August 9th, we're trying to, I mean, I don't know what we were trying to do, but we ended up, he was drunk. So let's say he was really drunk. We get to the apartment, and he at the bar, he was all over this girl. You know, we're walking out, and I'm like, "Hey, I really didn't like, I was not drunk because I had to drive." So I was like, "Hey, I really didn't like that you were on over this girl." And I talked to him in a way where I wanted to avoid fighting because he was drunk, you know, very drunk. And you know, so I I'm telling him as we're walking to the car, "Hey, I really didn't like you all over that girl, you know, because if it was the other way around, you would really hate if I was all over another man."
Right, of
And then
course.
he's like, "You know what? You like to ruin the night." He starts calling me all these names. We get in the car, and I'm just like, "Okay, let's just stop fighting. I don't want to fight. Like, you're drunk." Like, so then he pulls me out of the driver's seat by my hair, and he wants to drive. And I'm like, "No, you are wasted. You cannot drive." So he ended up driving because he's hitting me, you know, trying to drive. So I just sit on
Oh,
the passenger side, and I'm like, just praying to God we make it, you know? So I'm over here driving. I mean, well, in the passenger seat, holding on for my dear life. And then, so we make it to the apartment. And then, and this is apartment, we actually live with his parents. And his parents' room was right across our room. So, you know, we make it to the apartment. By the time we get to the apartment, my lips all busted, and I have blood all over my face. I have blood on my face, not all over, just from this area.
right.
And I'm like, okay. So he goes inside, and he, you know, he's all mad. So then I wait in the car. I wait like 20 minutes because I'm really just trying to figure out what to do. I never told my family I was getting abused. So I didn't want them to know. I was just trying to figure out what to do. So it took about 20 minutes to get in the room. And then finally I'm like, okay, I'm going to pack my stuff and I'm leaving. This is it. I'm not even going to argue. So I'm packing my things. And so right in front of the TV, I'm standing just getting my stuff, and he's just sitting on the bed looking like a psycho. And he has like a bong. It's a glass thing to smoke out of. And I'm right in front of the TV, and he gets it and he throws it at me, and it hits me in my arm, but it hits the TV, so it broke the TV. And he's like, "You see what you made me do? You made me break the TV." And I turned around and I was like, I didn't make you break the TV. I was like, so I made you throw that, right? And that's when he got up, and he just became like mad and just crazy. So then he gets up and he walks to me, and I did not expect for him to start swinging at me. So he starts swinging, with his two hands, and I'm like trying to fight him off, but like I could not fight him off. And finally, I'm just covering my face. I'm like, don't hit me in my face. My mom is gonna see this. Like, my family is gonna see this. Like, don't hit me in my face. Like, I was just so sad that he was doing this, not caring about the consequences. So I'm like, my parents are gonna see this. Like, what are you doing? And then, he didn't care. So then I fall to my knees, and I'm just like covering myself, like with my hands and my legs, and he's kicking me. He's hitting me in the head, and I passed out for a while. I don't know how long, but that whole time I was passed out, he was choking me. He was, just
Jesus
beating the
Christ.
crap out of me. And so I was screaming the whole time. So I don't know how his parents didn't hear anything,
Now I want to talk about that, Monica, because I read your story. I read it a few times because you had a lot of stuff in there. I remember where you said that he had beat you. You had visible bruises. His family saw it, and they were like, "Listen, you need to heal because we don't want you to go around your family looking like this." And the mom was actually putting ointment on your face to hide. Now that's sad. That is sad. What do you guys think about that, Symonia and Natasha? The mom was actually putting ointment on her face for her to hurry up and heal before she goes around her family.
It's pathetic. That's pathetic.
She would cover her son's
parents. Yeah.
I think that from a parental standpoint, they were trying to protect their son when they didn't realize that they were doing him just as big a disservice as they were doing her. Like,
I hear what you're saying. I have boys. My oldest son is 26. The first time, because I had to break my son from doing it. My son tried to put his hands on his son's mother. No, you gonna break this. I don't care if you my son or not.
Amen.
You're not.
But you're speaking from a survivor standpoint, and I'm just speaking just generally from a mother standpoint. I have a son as well. And my philosophy with my son, if you hit her, you're gonna have to hit me. I don't care what she did. If you have a problem with her and you feel like she needs to be hit, you better go get a female cousin or something. You better never raise your hand. My son was not allowed to hit his sister growing up, So this is something that's always been instilled in my son. So I agree with you. As a mother, I would never condone that. I have one of each. And so if I allow my son to do that to somebody else's daughter, I have to be okay with somebody else's son doing it to my daughter. And I will never be okay with that. Absolutely. I'm just saying, based on her story, the men that she's dealt with, their parents were in a mindset of trying to protect their son, because looking at her, just looking at that picture right there, and I'm sure that it was worse at some time, they're thinking the same thing that he's thinking, that she knows. If her family finds out, he's good as dead.
Oh, yeah.
So they're looking at it from that mentality. It's not right. It's not justifiable. It's wrong. It's cowardly. But that's what I'm saying, why they looked at it that way. But I 100% agree. I wish my son would.
I know
Yeah,
that's right.
and especially I think it came from his older brother. Actually got deported because they're all they all were immigrants from Mexico. So his older brother actually got deported for hitting the mother of his child, or beating her, let's say. I never even knew that until years after. They didn't really disclose that. They didn't like to mention it. They would blame the mother all the time. Oh yeah, it's her fault. He got deported. But I never heard the story till like years later. I heard the story and I was like, no, it sounds like it's his fault.
Right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something too, Monica, because something that you went through, everyone that has sat here to tell their domestic violence survival story has done this. You were in San Antonio. You guys were in you were in Houston. You moved to San Antonio. Then after all of these beatings, you left and went to California with your brother who was in the Marines.
Mm-hmm.
But then you went back to Houston,
Mm-hmm.
back to him.
Yeah. Went right back.
Help me understand, because I'm not sitting from a seat of judgment, because there's no judgment on the show. I just want to understand that someone who's been abused with black eyes and beaten the way you were, what inside of you made you yearn to be with him again? What was that? Explain that to me.
I really don't know. I think it was the comfortability of being with somebody and, having just that comfortable feeling of love. Like, I felt like I never wanted to see him with anybody else. It was crazy. And now that I think about it, oh my God, I regret it. But we live, we learn. But
Of course.
I just didn't. I think at the time he started dating, and that killed me. Even though we were separated for a year, I believe, or like a year and a half, we were separated. And I was doing my own thing in Cali. I had fun in Cali,
I
and
bet.
yeah. And
Were
so
you in
I
San
thought,
Diego? You were in San Diego, right?
San Diego.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, we got those little dating apps, and
Yeah.
yeah, so I just, I came back and I found out he was dating other girls and going to bars, which was strange to me because, when we were together, it was always, we were just in the house all the time. In the weekends, we were off. Well, I was off because he rarely worked. We never went out. So when I found out he's going to bars and doing all these things,
You're like, wait a minute, he never did that with me.
right? So then he finds out I'm here in Houston and, well, actually in Sugarland, Texas. And I'm like, he's like, hey, let me take you on a date. And I was like, okay. Ever since that day, I stayed with him. Like, it was horrible. He supposedly changed. And so I felt he changed. I thought he changed. I thought it would be different. And it just like, maybe for a good couple months, he was all this guy working out, working hard, he actually had a car because he never had a car. He took out a car, and he gave it to me. Like, he was just throwing everything at me, gifts, a car, just, I'll take care of you. And I never really had that. I was always taking care of everybody else. So I was like,
exactly.
oh,
I
yeah.
understand there. I do. I really do. I just wanted to get a little more insight
Mm-hmm.
because people make this decision and it has to be something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I was asking you. But I also read in your story something where he was trying to get you to hook up with a guy.
Yeah.
He was actually trying to get you to hook up with a guy.
Yeah.
Was he trying to get you to hook up with a guy so you can both be with the guy?
I think so because so maybe this is a couple months before the actual August 9th, the actual like where he left me to die. He was always telling me, "Hey, I want to have like this, I want to talk to you about my fantasy." And I was like, "Okay, well, we're married. What are you thinking, or what are you talking about?" He's like, "I want to get you on this app and I want to have other men, be with you and I'll just watch." And I was like, honestly, I don't think I can be that way because I was shy. I was like, no, I don't think that's a good idea because of jealousy. And honestly, if I would never want to see you with another woman, so how can you want to see me with another man? That
Right.
doesn't make sense to me. I was like, do you want to leave? Like, do you not want to be with me? And, you're trying to throw me to another relationship or something? Because just be honest. And he was like, no. And I felt, I didn't ever want to go to that because I just felt like he wanted to be with these other men. Like, so I found out that he had me on an app. He had my pictures on this app saying hot wife here, who wants to get with her. And all these guys were sending pictures because I went through his phone, and all these guys are sending pictures of their private areas, and he's messaging them like if it was me. Like if it was me replying, or us as a couple replying. And I never even knew he had my pictures out there. I never knew he actually went with it and tried to, have other men get me.
So, and Monica, how did you feel about him being with other men?
Horrible. That's the reason why I had left him in the first place. Like when I went to Cali, I don't even know how I took him back, but don't
beat yourself up over it. Don't beat yourself up over it.
Yeah, the day I found out, he was because he actually had like Grindr. I don't know if you know, that's an app for men to meet men. He had, and then I saw videos of him with other men, and so that's when we live in San Antonio. He didn't.
Wait a minute, you had videos? They were on his phone. He recorded him with. Did you ever speak to him about this? Did you confront him about what you saw?
Yeah, so the day I found out, I went through his phone, and he was asleep. He never wanted me to touch his phone. So, it's a thumbprint phone, like the thumbprint password. So he was asleep. So I get his phone and I get his thumb while he's asleep, and I put it on the phone to open it up because I'm like, why do you have
people really do that? Okay.
I was like, why do you have such a strong password? It didn't make sense to me, and I felt like he was hiding things from me. So I was like,
right.
Okay. So I looked at his pictures and I couldn't find anything. And then finally, I'm like, I saw this thing on his phone. It had like files. So I go into his files, and I guess it was all his hidden videos and pictures. And he was with other men. Like he had another man's part in his mouth, and just different videos. And I was like, so I woke him up, and I'm like, hey, what is this? He's like, that's not me. And I show him the video. I'm like, I have your phone right here. What is this? Like, what are you doing? Why are you with another man or men? And he's like, he gets his phone and he starts punching it and throwing it against the wall and screaming and throwing up and just getting so crazy. And he's like, I don't know. I'm so sorry. That I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, look, I already called your mom, because when I found that out, I called his mom. I said, hey, please come for him before I kill him. I cannot be with him no more. Like, you need to come for him, because if he doesn't leave, I'm going to call the cops. And they're really big on calling the cops on their children. So the mom is on her way, and he's like, I'll just call my mom, tell her to come pick me up. And the whole time he's begging me back. And I was like, no, I cannot do this. So once his mom gets there, on my phone, I recorded it. And I had sent myself the pictures. So he got my phone and deleted everything. Because he already knew how I would be, So his mom gets there. And he was begging me and being all dramatic before. He starts with, I never wanted to be with you in the first place. You're the B word. Like, starts turning around and starts saying that I'm, the worst person. Like, just turning it around on me, This is your fault. You cheated on me first. And I was like, I never cheated on you. Like, what are you talking about? I said, if I cheated on you, you should have brought it up to me when it happened. Why are you saying I cheated on you now when you never have said anything before? So his mom gets there, and then he wants to start fighting with me. I don't know if it was just because his mom was there or what, but she gets there and he starts like getting in my face. He's like pointing his finger at me and so like I ended up.
What was mom doing? What was mom doing?
She was just packing his things, like letting him go off on me. And her and her dad, the mom and dad are just getting his stuff and putting it in the car, And they're telling me, are you sure you want to leave him? Are you sure this is what you want? I was like, yes, please get him out of here. I cannot deal with it. And so, but at the time, he starts getting real angry. So I pushed him away, and then he falls on the floor. He's very dramatic. And I pushed him. He fell on the floor, gets up, and then he pushes me on the floor and starts trying to choke me and hit me. And then the mom's like, "Stop it. What are you doing?" You know? And I was like, "This is who he is. This is who he really is," you know? And so he ends up leaving and he stops at the door and he's like, "So this is what you really want, right?" I was like, "Yeah, this is
Yeah.
what I want. I don't want to be with you." So then it took me about a week to actually tell my family because I was so embarrassed. I didn't even know how to tell them, you know?
See, that's the thing right there. That word,
Mm-hmm.
fear and embarrassment.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two reasons. Listen, I feel you. I do. I because I've never been in an abusive situation. So I really can't understand what it is that you guys went through. I'm not gonna fake like, oh, I no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I've heard and from the people I've interviewed, it seems like that's the usual reason is because we're embarrassed. What were you embarrassed about exactly?
I think I was embarrassed of getting cheated on because, you know, my dad coming from like my dad cheating on my mom on, you know, when we were younger, it was just like, you know, how can you be with somebody that cheats on you? Or how can, like, I always heard the, how didn't you know he was cheating on you, you know, and all that.
Yeah.
Why did you let it go on so long and stuff like that? And I was like, you know, so I was embarrassed. And then I was more embarrassed that he was cheating on me with another man. I didn't feel like I was a woman enough for him, or I just didn't
Ah,
understand, you know? I was like, if you wanted to be with a man or, you know, you had a different sexual preference, just be honest with me. You could have just left me, hey, this is who I am. And I would have respected you as a man. I would have been like,
right.
you know what? Good luck on your endeavors. And I hope you find a good, loving man. But just be honest with me. Just tell me I'm not what you want, you know, instead of having to cover it with me, you know. And I feel like that was a big reason why he was very abusive because he was like
It's like he's
sexually
dealing with
frustrated.
yeah, he's dealing with
Mhm.
some inner demons, it sounds like.
Mhm.
So after all of that, you're finally did you ever call the cops on him? Ever?
I did call the cops because when he left to San Antonio, he came back because I stayed in San Antonio by myself for 2 weeks, and then that's when I left for Cali. But within those 2 weeks, he came back and he broke the window to my room, like because I was gone. I don't know where it was. I think I didn't come home till about 9 because I was a property manager. So I was always driving around San Antonio looking for rental places and just different things for the apartments I was working for. So I get home, my windows are broken, you know, and I had mud tracks in my room. And I mean, the only person, it was a small little city. And then they told me that they saw him walking around my house or walking around the apartment complex. So I called the cops, but other than that, I never called the cops on him until the night he hurt me and he like beat me up on August 9th. But other than that, I never was able to call the cops. I mean, I called the cops and they're like, "Well, there's nothing that we can do if he's not here. You know, he's
See,
gone already."
that's the thing,
That's the
guys.
Mhm.
problem.
I oh see
Yeah.
that's the part that frustrates me because we do these shows, me being a host, we do these shows and we want to encourage people to call the hotline, call the police. But I've also had just as many people on my show tell me, oh, I did that. They don't do anything.
Mhm.
And I even had a guest once that her son ended up getting killed in cold blood, but she had called the cops like 1,000 times for this man, and they just didn't do anything. And that's what with Natasha's story is gonna be. Listen, you guys want to stay tuned for that one because it's something, her story. But you know, people go through the steps, do the right thing, and then when you call, they just kind of made you feel bad for calling. It sounds
Mhm.
like they're like, "Are you sure?" Is it that they don't want to do the paperwork, Symonia and Natasha? Like, what is it? Do they not want to be bothered? Or are they just trying to root for the man? Or I mean, what is it?
You know, they don't want to do the work. They just lazy. Cause how, you know, I had a order of protection on mine, and he was leaving gifts on my parents' porch, and I'm calling the police. They coming over there to see him and give. Oh, we can't do nothing because he's not on the premises. We just told you he was here.
Yeah.
But
wow,
they don't want to do their job.
I've had them actually come when I had a order of protection and just tell the person to leave, even though there was an order of protection. I don't know that it's that they don't want to do their job. I'm sure that's true with some of them. They just don't want to go through the paperwork. But I think part of the reason of not wanting to go through the paperwork is because most of the time women go back. And so it becomes, why am I going to go through and do all of this? And she just going to end up right back with them. The problem is it's not their call or it shouldn't be their call. Mm-hmm. It should be their call to do their job and enforce what has already been put in place. If a order of protection is in place, then you should do something about it. But I do feel that a lot of times law enforcement feels like, she's just going to go back, or I've heard or seen he's just talking. And a lot of times when these men are making threats, maybe 50% of them are idle. But what about the 50% that are not? And who's to say which 50% are idle and which 50% are true?
Right.
Right. And so that's how you end up with a lot of dead domestic violence victims, because people make decisions for them based on their reaction.
Absolutely.
But sometimes we need protection from ourselves.
Right. Yeah. So Monica, after after this one time that almost killed you, did you go back again? That was it, right?
No, that was it. And the night he left me for dead, I ended up going to the hospital. And this is about the cops. Like, I go to the hospital and I'm in the emergency room all beat up. My brother actually took me to the hospital. And Harris County comes, the police, and then they get there and they're asking me all these questions, and they're like, do you want to press charges on this man? I said, yes, I want to press charges. Look at me. Like, I'm literally, I had they did a CAT scan, and on this side of my face, and I have all these teeth right here they were broken. This eye has nerve damage because of all the hits. I had a concussion. It was just real ugly. And I said, yes, look at me. I'm gonna press charges. And they're like, well, if you press charges, half of the cases are gonna get thrown out anyways. So maybe this case will get thrown out. So you can go ahead and press charges, but it probably won't even go through. And I said, you know what, that's fine. If it doesn't, I'm gonna still press charges.
They're discouraging you from
me.
Oh my God.
And then on top of that, I had a concussion, so I wasn't really thinking straight. But I'm in the emergency room sitting with all these people, and they're like, okay, well, let's take pictures of your damage. And, at the time, everything doesn't bruise up so fast.
Right.
It takes a good week for it to start showing. So I said, okay, but it's all over my body. It's not just my face. I had it here. My breast had bruises. My butt had bruises. Everything had bruises. And they start lifting up my shirt in front of everybody to take pictures. And I was like, can we go to a restroom? Can we go to a different room for this? And they're like, no, we don't have extra room because of COVID. Everything's filled up. So, they were trying to pick my shirt up, and I had so much bruises, you cannot lift my shirt on my arm. So I took off my shirt so they can start taking pictures. But this is in front of everybody in the emergency room. I had no privacy. And it was such an ugly experience. The nurses were really sweet, but the cops, they were the ones that really tried to discourage me to not press charges. And then they get there and they tell me, where's he at, who did this, and where's his address. And so I give them the information, and they get there and his mom was hiding him. So, they're like, why are you lying? His mom said that he don't live there. And I was like, no, he lives there. Like, he is there. So he never got arrested. Like, he had a warrant out for his arrest because they couldn't find him. And they told me since he was illegal, they couldn't properly identify him. So it took they had a warrant, and then he got arrested in May. And then that night, May 15th, he got arrested. they let him out on a personal bond. So since then, we've been resetting trial. They reset the trial about 5 times already. I've never got to even step foot in a courthouse, tell my part, tell my part in the story or anything. It's just all him right now. And he's not seen a day in court except the day he did get arrested. They set him out on a personal bond. And I told the cops, whenever he was hitting me, he said, I have family in Mexico. And if I kill you right now, if you call the cops on me, I'm gonna make it worthwhile and I'm gonna kill you. And I'll just run off to Mexico and go live my life and go have fun over there. And I told the cops he'll run if, he feels threatened that he's gonna go to jail. He'll probably come kill me. And all I have right for my protection is a restraining order. That's it for right now.
And that's not any real protection. Not really.
No, it's a piece of paper.
A piece of
paper.
Paper.
He needs to be in jail. He needs to be in jail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So you're still waiting for your outcome.
I'm still fighting. Right. Yeah. I was like, and then they had the audacity to call me and say, hey, it was a prosecutor called me. Hey, we just want to know, would you be okay with him just going to counseling and not using any jail time? I said, no, I want him to get jail time. He deserves it. I don't feel safe when he's not him knowing that I'm here. He knows where I stay, because I said my brother, but he's scared of him. So, but I just feel like threatened every time I go to the store. I'm scared. I'm looking behind my back, trying to see, if he's there or what, it's really. And then now that I'm pregnant, I'm even more scared for my life. I wouldn't hate to run into him at the store, and him know that I did press charges. I mean, he knows now because we're going to court for it, but it's just, it's really ugly to live like that. And I'm going to counseling. I've been diagnosed with PTSD already. Like, I'm doing everything I can. That way, whenever my daughter gets here, I'll be a good, I'll be a strong mother,
Something tells me, Monica, that you're still going through, though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I know that you're huh? What'd you say,
this was just last year, right?
Yeah, it's been a year, and since August, it was a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
still kind of fresh.
I just want to say to you, first of all, I want to apologize for the way that you were treated it's like being victimized all over again.
All over again.
And it's a different victimization because now you're, showing, your body parts and things like that. But I also want to encourage you to write down some of the most traumatic incidents. So when you have your day in court, mm-hmm. you can paint them a clear picture and you can be precise and to the point.
Right.
And you have it right there already mm-hmm. prepared. And one of the things, I know that there's fear that still lives on the inside of you, but one of the things that you can't show him is fear.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
You cannot show him fear. Mm-hmm. You just keep praying that God gives you strength. You gain strength from knowing that you have another life that you're protecting. You gain strength from knowing that you're a beautiful person inside and out. You gain strength in knowing that he did not win. You gain strength in knowing that he did not break you. And you stand on all of that.
That's right. That's right, girl. We got you.
Thank you.
We got you. Aunties are here. We got you. Now I want you to stay there because now we want to move over to Natasha, because if you are just tuning into the Ella Johnson Show and you're wondering what it is we're talking about, well, it is Domestic Violence Awareness Month on the Ella Johnson Show, and in the US, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And we wanted to bring women onto the show, or men, whomever, to tell their stories about what they went through and how they got out. Well, Natasha is another survivor. She was in for like 9 years with her abuser, and she's going to tell us her story today. But you don't want to miss this one because this one has a lot of highs and lows. So we want to go ahead and get started. Natasha, thank you for being so patient and waiting until it was time for us to get to you. You were just kind of like sitting there like, okay. I love it.
Good listening to other women talking their experience, and I'm really glad that you got out in time. Like, you still have a lot of life left ahead of you,
Amen.
Thank
Monica,
you.
Beautiful young
for you
lady.
and your
Yeah,
daughter. So,
that's right, baby. That's
make sure
right.
you keep her definitely in mind with this
Thank
coming up.
you.
Yeah. Now, 16 years old, Natasha, from 16 to 25 years of age. Those are like the years where we're supposed to be enjoying and having fun and having more than one boyfriend, or maybe that was just me. But this was the time we should have been enjoying. But this young lady, this beautiful woman sitting before us at age 16 to 25, she was a domestic violence victim. Now, tell us, we're going to jump right into yours. I really do want to know a little bit about your family life, because I know we do know that you grew up in a, two-parent household. But what was it like growing up in your household? How did your mom treat your dad and vice versa?
First, well, I grew up on the south side of Chicago, and it started out, I grew up in my grandmother's house for a long time, up until I was 13 years old. So I grew up in a house with, not just my parents or my brother. It was my cousins, my aunties. It was a lot of us.
Right, right.
So, it was a whole mixture of different characters, characteristic traits, a lot of energies. It was a house full of like chaos sometimes. But at 13, we ended up moving out. My parents, they got a house in Riverdale. It's like right across the city of Chicago line. It's like right next door to Chicago, basically. So they ended up getting a house over there, and I was like the total opposite. Like, I had a young kid when I grew up in a house with all my cousins. When my parents would leave, we would be in my parents' room. I was a inquisitive, but curious kid. So when they leave, I would get to searching around. And when I started searching around, I was finding some things I wasn't supposed to be finding. So, unlike
In your parents' bedroom? In your parents?
Yes.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I came across some things. I was like the total opposite of Dr. What's your name again? I'm sorry.
Symonia.
I was like the total opposite. I had a high sex drive, and it was like, and it came from these tapes that I found in my parents' room. So, and the whole thing with my household, my parents, they had to go to church regularly, religiously when they was growing up. But when it came to our generation, God was not in our household. He was nowhere near present. So it was no real guidance there for me. First off, knowing how to express my feelings and communicate my feelings was absent. And knowing how to express love for one another in the household, that was missing.
So you guys didn't say I love you. You didn't say I love you to each other. None of that stuff. Gotcha.
No, I didn't know nothing about that, which was kind of weird. But I saw how my parents interacted with each other. But okay, well, it was like we were just kind of on the sideline. But
right.
Growing up in that type of environment. So when we did move to Riverdale, I'm 13 years old. I got to help. I don't know why, but I didn't actively start having sex until I was 16, which was that relationship.
Right.
But yes, I did have a high sex drive, and it was crazy.
Well, you're not the only one. Yeah, you're not the only one. A lot of young people did. So when you were 16 and this guy that you met, is this one of those sex drive moments that you were like, okay, this is one I'm going to stick with for a little while? Or what was that relationship like initially?
I actually met him when I was 12 at one of the city parks. Me and my cousins, we used to always go to the park and play. It was always like a group of family kids in the parks, and we was one of those groups, and they was one of them groups. So that's how I met them. That's how I met him and a couple of his family members. So I knew him since I was 12. But you're
very familiar with this guy. Right. Okay, so this is somebody you knew. And how was it now that you guys have decided, okay, I'm going to be your girl, you're going to be my boy? What was that like?
It was basically like that, I just turned 16. I guess I was more anxious to date than anything. And I don't know why. I was.
Probably those magazines.
I guess it was at 16 right.
Just a guess.
Yeah, I was anxious to date. Yeah. And we started dating. I'm not going to lie. I was 16 when I sustained that first hit. And people don't understand, when you go through stuff like that, it's like part of you gets encaged, part of you gets trapped inside until you learn and help release that part of you. Like I did not know that for, it took me years. I'm gonna tell you, all this is glory to God, because I didn't know who God was when I was growing up. It took me to get to my 30s to start searching out God for myself. So when I did start searching out God for myself, I had ended up moving to Georgia. I had to get my kids out the city of Chicago, away from the city of Chicago. So I ended up moving to Georgia in 2016. And, you know, I started searching out God for myself. And people be thinking, baby, if you start turning to God and you start wanting to walk with God, you better be ready for whatever. Because I'm thinking like, okay, everything gonna turn around for the better. Everything gonna be okay.
Oh no.
And I started walking with God. I said, oh, what is this? I said, what is going on?
It's a little different.
Like,
that's why you have to get to know it. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now let's go back to when you were 16. Let's go back to when you were 16. You say you took that. Yeah, that's all right. You took this first hit at another 16-year-old boy. What the heck was that about?
Oh no, he was 18. He was 18. Older. Yeah.
Right. But what was that hit about when he hit you? What was?
I don't remember what happened. Like most of the times he wasn't a big talker. So when he was ready to strike, he just struck. It wasn't like, you know, I know why you mad. I don't know what's going on. Some of the times I didn't know what was going on in his head. Sometimes I didn't know why he struck. He just struck. And at that time, I don't remember why he was mad. But yeah, he hit me. And I remember going down to my knee when he did that. And I felt super embarrassed. I couldn't tell my parents this. Like, I didn't know how to communicate. Like, this person hit me, you know. And I'm going to tell you, even though it was a 2-parent household, my dad did work Monday through Friday. He worked Monday through Friday. He worked while I was in school. My dad was at home asleep. When I got out of school, my dad was going to work. So I really didn't see my dad until on the weekends.
Right.
So we didn't have like that bond that I needed with my father at that time. So that was missing. So I was actually out there not only looking for love, but I was looking for that father figure.
Wow. So that's when he hit you. You felt, did you in some way feel like, okay, he just had a moment. He's not going to do that anymore. Did you ever feel that?
No, because I kind of stormed off and walked home. Like, I don't know. You know, that was foreign to me because I never seen my parents argue.
Right.
I never seen them fight. So I don't know what that was all about.
So you left when he hit you.
Right. I ended up walking home. I walked home and I didn't even tell my parents. I didn't say anything. I didn't talk to them for about, I didn't talk to him for about, I'm going to say about a week. And then,
but you stayed with him though. Did it again?
Yep. He swore up and down that he wasn't gonna do it again. I was leaving out to go to school one morning, and he was parked on the side of my parents' house. Like, what you doing here? You know what time it is? I gotta go to school. But yeah, I mean, and that was his mentality, and that's how he did things throughout that whole relationship. Like, you know, and not me being the age I was, I didn't understand what stalking was. Stalking was totally foreign to me. So I didn't know.
But it's definitely a part of domestic violence, though. Stalking is definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Now, I mean, but you weren't living with him. You were still living with your parents.
No. Yeah, I was still living with my parents. I ended up getting pregnant at 17 that following year.
Oh, by him.
Yeah.
And then what? After you got parent, was he like, okay, let's get an apartment, let's move in? Did he do that, or what happened?
My parents, they had scheduled for me to get an abortion.
Get off her.
And
I'm gonna get off in a second.
He ended up. I don't remember how he got in touch with me, but I don't know if he came up to my school or by my parents' house. But however, I ended up in the car with him this day. And I let him know that my parents scheduled an abortion. I wasn't keeping the baby, just whatever. You know, he cried like a baby. He cried like a baby, like, don't kill the baby. I'll take care of both of y'all. This, that, and another. You just come live with us. Of course, me falling for the tears, falling for it, like, okay. You know, I was kind of, I was like really like confused at that time. Like my parents want to get an abortion, he wanted me to keep it. Like I don't even know what I want to do. But
Wow.
he caught me with those tears, and I ended up keeping the baby. Ended up moving in with him and his parents, which is
Wow. So how was that living with his parents? Were they like Monica's ex's parents? Like they watched a lot of things happen and just kind of turned away?
like his parents were basically my size. His mom was smaller than me, so they would attempt to try to intervene. But like I say, he used his body size to intimidate people in that house and whoever was near him. He used his body weight to his full advantage to intimidate whoever he wanted to. And that
So he was a
included his
big guy.
parents.
He was a big
Yeah,
guy.
he was 6'2". He's about 250 pounds. Yeah, yes.
Ooh, Jesus. Now, when he was hitting you, were you like Symonia? Were you trying to fight him back and pushing him into the walls and stuff? Did you do
You
any of
know what?
that?
Yes, I did. I did try to fight back. I'm gonna say it was always me trying to fight back the first 6 years. Them last 3 years, it got intense. It got
Now,
intense. Like
describe intense. What does that mean? Intense. Describe that for
I
me.
don't
What
know
does
if y'all
that
can
look?
see this. Like he used to use this hand to put out his cigarettes and blunts on my hand.
Hey.
Oh my
Like and
God.
he had did it so much that the flesh had became the flesh was exposed, and I could tell that it was infected
Oh,
because it had an odor to it. It had an odor to it, and the color of the wound, I could tell it was infected. But like I say, my whole life I owe God the glory because I didn't know what I was doing with this hand. You know, I was putting Neosporin on and wrapping it, just constantly putting Neosporin on and wrapping it. Like that hand needed some attention that it didn't get, but God helped me get through it that time. And he used to use this. If y'all remember that club that we used to put on the steering wheels, that metal
yeah.
club,
Yeah. Like the
you
red
know,
one?
red, blue, whatever color they
Yeah.
had. But
Yeah.
he had a blue one at this time. And you know the pole that you pull out with the ridges on it. Like he
Right.
used to use that pole to beat the side of my left leg. And this
Oh
is, you know,
God.
a lot of times I was getting hit, I was getting beaten. Some of them times I didn't know. I know one of them times I was listening to Monica's story, and it's kind of funny how some of her story kind of reminds me of mine because I remember him jumping on me one time because I used to work overnight at this healthcare facility, and I remember the security guard unlocking the door, opened the door for me, and he was sitting outside, and he saw the security guard let me out. And just off of that strength, he decided to jump on me because I guess his mind was telling him something else. You know, you don't ask, you don't do nothing. You just want to jump on me because the security guard opened his door for me and let me out. Like
Oh my gosh.
I couldn't tell you half the times why he did what he did. I have no idea.
It sounds like you sustained a lot of beatings and a lot of
I
damage
did.
to you. Did you ever tell anybody though?
That's what I say. With those last 3 years, I'm gonna say that last year is when I started to cry out. I started to talk to people. I'm like, and I had one opportunity where I actually was able to. I had left, and his sister, she was 16 at the time, and she, you know, he used to beat on her too sometimes, and I was ready to leave. I had a cousin who lived out in Indiana, and she came and got me, and his sister was with me. She kept begging me, like, don't leave me here, please don't leave me here. I didn't leave her there. I ended up taking her with me. And when we out at my cousin's house, about a week had went past. He couldn't get in touch with me. He had no way to get in touch with me. And I ended up, I did have a phone, but I kept it off because I didn't want to talk to him. I didn't want to hear from him.
Right. Right.
And when I checked the voicemails, he had left a message on there. I mean, this is how twisted his mind was. He left a message on my phone telling me, you know, he's crying on the phone like, you know, my daddy died, this, that, another. My daddy died. And, you know, I'm not a person who play with death. So I'm I'm like, how I'm gonna tell his sister this? Like, you know, I got to get her back to the house. My cousin, we packed up. My cousin takes us back to the house. We get to the house.
He was
I walk
lying.
in the house, look in his parents' room. His daddy laying in the bed, fully healthy, reading his newspaper.
Oh,
This is how
that
twisted his
is.
mind was, just to get me
Oh my
back to that
gosh.
house. And my cousin had already pulled off, so I'm like, okay, like, and you know, all the other houses are familiar places to him, so he can just pop up whatever and see if I'm there or whatever. You know, it became like I don't know, like a cat and mouse game to him. I don't
I
know
was
what it
just
was
gonna
like.
say that it was like a cat and mouse game. Now your story is ended totally different than the rest of these women did. Um, I want us to go to and lead us through the night when he was, the end. Um, when you because there came a point where you actually called them because you got this protection. Take us from the protection all the way to the end, Natasha. What happened with your story?
Okay, it was 2003. It was the day before New Year's Eve. We had gotten into a fight that day. I had just got off of work. When I got home, we had gotten into a fight. I don't remember what we was fighting about, but this particular day, he chose to put his hands on my second oldest son. That was gonna be his last time putting his hands on any of my kids. Period. Like, you're not about to. That's one thing you're not about to do. So I learned what would tick him off. I learned what would calm him down. It came to a point where you got to play a fool, a fool, a fool. So I knew that if I stayed calm and tell him everything was okay, I knew that he would eventually go outside on New Year's Eve to go hustle or do whatever he was going to do. Because if I had to show any sign of being unsettled or like I was going to leave, he wouldn't have left my side. So I assured him, like, everything okay, it's fine. When he left out the house that day, I called Chicago police. I called my parents. I called police to be there for assistance while I got myself out the house to get to my parents. At that point, I didn't even care if he knew where I was at. I didn't care if he knew that was at my parents' house at that time, because I really had nowhere else to go. So when I did get to my parents' house, this is before New Year's Day, so I couldn't go get an order of protection until the first business day after the holiday. So when that business day did come, I went downtown, got the order. The judge did order me an emergency order of protection. So I'm like, okay. Went back to the house. The phone calls didn't stop. Him stopping by my parents' house didn't stop. I'm not paying no attention. Like, I made up my mind. I'm done. I don't care what you do. I'm
Right.
done. Like, I don't care how many
Right.
times you call. And at this point, I used to work on the far north side of Chicago. Imagine, we lived on the south side, so that's way on the other side of town. And for me to walk out of my job and see him driving past my job, like, which is no coincidence. You shouldn't even be all the way up here.
Right.
But that continued on for 3 weeks. We was due to be in court January 26th. On January 25th, my mother was cooking Sunday dinner. It was me, our three kids, uh, my mom, my dad, T, her husband, and their son. We all in the house waiting for dinner to be ready. We watching TV, watching the game.
Oh no, she's frozen.
Frozen.
Ah. So I'm gonna just kind of talk, because I know we're definitely running out of time, but I want to make sure that you guys know the rest of her story. Where she's leaving off at is that he comes to their household where they are with a gun, and he holds the family hostage.
Wow.
Um, and then after I think a week, he's there holding them, gun with a gun. And to make a long story short, he ends up going to they try to arrest him. He ends up in the police station. And the timeline from that is where it gets really crazy. They're questioning him. They bring him into the police station and they're questioning him. And the officer, William Rawlniak, is the officer they didn't handcuff him. Symonia and Monica, they didn't handcuff him. They felt that he was no threat. So Instead of doing what they should have done, they didn't handcuff him, and he ended up getting the officer's gun, walks him outside, takes him across the street, and shoots him in the head.
Oh my God. That's
Kills
horrible.
him. He kills him. He tries to get away. He's trying to take this 72-year-old man's car, and the man refused, and he got shot in the side. So then he tries to go and try to hijack like 2 or 3 other cars, and they were unsuccessful. One of the cars knocked him over. And when he was getting up, the officers told him to drop his gun. He did not drop his gun, and they killed him.
Wow. Wow, that's so sad.
They killed him. But she's back there. There you are, Natasha. I kind of finished it, but I want you to, because you could definitely tell it better than I can. So pick up where you guys were having Sunday dinner, and that's where I want you to kind of share with them what happened next.
Okay, so yeah, he sent someone to knock on the door because he knew my parents wouldn't open it if they saw him at the door. So when my mom opened up the door, he did. He ran in with a loaded gun, held it on everybody, and he ended up snatching me out the house. He basically drugged me to the back of my parents' house where he had a minivan sitting waiting for us to get in. And when I got in there, I'm like crying, screaming profusely. Like I couldn't stop crying because I'm in shock that all this just happened. And he like, shut up, shut up, shut up. I don't know if he tried to shoot me or not, but he did aim the gun at me, and I felt the bullet go across the top of my right thigh, which it ended up lodging in the van's roof, which I pissed on myself at that time. Like, I'm scared. He had 2 other people in the van. Like I say, he used his body weight to intimidate people, and he used them to help him do this. So he took us. I mean, he had a few people involved that we knew. Like, I knew he knew them, and his intent was like, "You're not gonna see your birthday." My birthday was February 6th. He's like, "You're not gonna see your birthday." The one thing I kept in my mind, I'm going home to my kids. I didn't care what he said. You could tell me I'm not gonna see my birthday. I'm going home to my kids. So yeah, he had me from Sunday to Sunday. That Sunday came. The police ended up catching us at the Greyhound bus station downtown Chicago. They came down there and they asked me, they like, "Are you with him willingly?" I'm like, "No, I'm not. No." I didn't know what he had. I didn't know if he had the gun on him. I didn't know what he had done with the gun at the time. So I had to play it safe up until that point because I knew in my mind I wasn't going to be safe unless he was in police custody.
Exactly.
So
you played it very smart. You did good. You did.
Oh, trust me, it wasn't just me, because if it was me, those 3 chances that I had to run, I think I would have left. But I'm glad that God was with me at these times because it's what kept me alive.
Yes.
But when they took us to the police station, they transported us back to Riverdale where everything happened at. They questioned us both. By the time they finished questioning him, you know, he had admitted to everything. He told them, "Yeah, I did do this." Okay. He admitted to everything. To this day, I don't know why he was not handcuffed. So when they was taking him from the interview room back to the hold-up cell, he took the officer gun who was walking with him. He took him outside across the street from the police station, shot him in the head, ended up trying to carjack 3 more cars, shot up the elderly man. You know, I believe it was in his side, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, it was his side. He got shot in the side.
And they ended up killing him in the process. And I mean, this was the mentality of the person that I was dealing with. So,
wow.
I mean, it's been a struggle. Like, as far as what I'm doing now, me journaling, writing, speaking, you know, the life skill coaching, the safe havens that I'm working to put together, these are all visions given to me by God. This is nothing I chose for myself. As I said, I was in healthcare for 20 years. I did real estate for 4 years. God gave me these visions for myself. I'm like, okay, and I started working within my calling and within my gift. So it is what it is.
I think out of all the women here, I think you're the one that came closest to death, Natasha.
Mm-hmm.
I do. You were like, I think if you wouldn't have gotten out that night, that had to be it that night. Because if he would have been able to get out, he was done. I can just see that he was just done. He didn't care anymore. He was just like, if I can't have you, yeah.
Before he did any of this, I mean, in the midst of him No, before he even kidnapped me, he had told his parents. He said, "Get my insurance papers ready." He knew what he was going to do. He knew the way he was going to take out. He knew that he was not leaving. He knew. He said he wasn't going to jail. He told my daddy he wasn't going to jail.
Ooh, Jesus.
Natasha, let me ask you, how do your children handle this? Because it's not black and white for them. They have a love for their mother and want their mother to be safe and protected and grateful that you're here, but there's still a little part of them that loves their father, and they lost him.
You know what? And out of all that I've been through, everything that he took me through, I never spoke ill about their father. I let them analyze the situation for themselves and let them make their own decisions. You know, I love my kids to death. My kids love me to death. My at the time, my daughter was only 1, and my other son, he was only 5. So my oldest son, he had just turned 8. I had missed his 8th birthday at the time that he did this. My oldest son's birthday is January 28th. He kidnapped me on January 25th. So he knew our son's birthday was coming up. So yeah, my oldest son is the one who remembered the most. The other 2, they really don't remember anything.
How is he?
He's good. He, you know, I don't think he really likes revisiting the past. That part I don't think he's quite dealt with yet.
And that's the part that makes me so torn up inside is how do we deal with these kids of abused families? Because I know I'm talking to you guys, you have therapy, we support each other, we stay in touch, there's support groups, but what is there for the children? Because what happens eventually, based on research that I've read, is that it comes out in them years later. Like you may not see anything now, but years later, those little things they'll start creeping up. And it's like, how do we prevent that? Symonia, Monica, and Natasha, what do we do? And what have you guys done when it comes to the kids? Now, I know you don't have any kids yet, Monica, but what do you guys do?
I came to the point that I learned to ask my kids hard questions. I ask them, you know, how do they feel about certain situations? You know, what's going on in your mind? And, you know, I tell them how, because what people pay hundreds and thousands of dollars to get them help with, I didn't speak to a therapist. God gave me the vision for journaling. He gave me the vision for writing. That's how my healing began. So I tell my kids, if anything bothers you, write it down in full detail. How it made you feel. Let it come out of you. Do not hold it in. Release it. You know, I have to constantly talk to my kids. I have to constantly teach them different ways from what I grew up, because it's certain chains that have to be broken.
That's right. Good point.
You said that you had to break that cycle in one of your children, that your son became violent towards women.
My oldest. Yeah. I ain't gonna say he became violent, because my son, he's not a violent person. But, you know, I guess it was like that toxic mix that he felt like he needed to put his hands on his son's mother. And, you know, I wasn't about to have that. I sat him down and I had to remind him, you know, how did you feel when you seen your daddy hitting me?
Amen.
How did you feel when you saw me, you know, crying, bruised up, bleeding from what he did to me? You know, he sat and he analyzed that. And, you know, my son, he listens to me. And I thank God that my kids listen to what I have to say. I know. Yeah. They pay attention. So he learned to grow from that situation.
Wow. So Monica, when you're raising baby Eris, she's a young lady. She's going to be beautiful, just like her mom. And she's going to want to date at some point. What are you going to tell her?
I do want to let her know what happened. You know, my story. That's why, as of now, like, I'm trying to fight for, you know, my justice. And I want her to see that, you know, don't ever let a man put his hands on you. It's never okay. You know, right now, she has a great dad. He's really loving, you know, he's not, I mean, I've been with him for almost, I guess, a couple, like, maybe, we've been together for a year already. And he's shown me nothing but love, and I want her to be, you know, be shown how, you know, he wants to treat her like a princess whenever she comes out. That way, you know, she knows from the beginning, this is how you're
her value. Her value. Yeah,
you know,
that's where it all starts. Yeah.
Yes, and you know, I just want to let her know there is evil out there, and we could do things to protect it. And don't ever be embarrassed about what's happening in your life. Like, you need to speak, because silence kills.
Silence kills. That's right.
Mhm.
That's our hashtag for the day. Listen, guys, our show definitely went over, but I was not going to end without everybody having equal time. But for those of you that are watching, I just put a link for you to purchase Natasha's book. It is on Amazon. I want every single person, I'm going to do it after the show too. I want you to click on that link and definitely support her book. Tell us what your book is about, Natasha, real briefly, because I'm going to ask you guys your 5 questions before we get off. They're going to be very quick because everybody's going to answer them. Tell everybody about your book.
It's basically about the 16-year-old girl who got engaged from that first hit, just being unleashed in that book. That's it.
I like what you put, caged. I like what you put. I like that word. You described it so well because it made sense to me when you said it now, because now I understand why people make the decisions they made, because you're not yourself anymore.
Exactly.
You're not free.
Is growing, but your inner child is stuck.
Yeah. All right, guys. So I have questions. All right. 5 questions. They're going to be quick. Is domestic violence about power? Yes or no? Start with you, Monica.
I feel like he just, when it came to other men, he felt really intimidated, by my brother-in-law. So, when it came to me, he knew he had a lot of power over me. So he definitely used his power, he tried to make, maybe it empowered him to hit on another woman, because he's never fought with a man before, ever. So maybe it made him feel powerful.
Symonia, is domestic violence about power? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. Natasha, yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah. When being abused, where were your priorities? This is very important, because I want people that are in it right now, because you guys are out of it. Now you're looking back and seeing what you would have done differently. But I want for people that are in it, I want you to think about this. Where are your priorities right now? And I'm going to give you guys 4 choices, and you tell me what was the most important for you guys. The man, your faith, your children, or none of the above? Natasha, what was your priority when you were going through that man? Symonia.
None of the above. It was being loved. It was not having self-love and thinking that I could gain it here. Loving someone into loving you back.
Monica, what was your priority? Man, your faith, your children, or none of the above? Can't be children because you.
At the time, it was the man.
The man. Okay. Next question. Did you ever think that it was love when the men acted jealous or became angry when they thought you were cheating? Did you think that was love, Monica? Yes or no?
Yeah, at the time I did think it was love. I thought it was, he didn't want to see me with no one else and it was killing him, but yeah, I thought it was love.
Symonia?
Yes.
Natasha?
I was confused because I didn't know what love looked or felt like. So
that's very good you said that. And I'm so glad that you were honest with that question, because I was actually expecting you to say that, because you said in your household you didn't experience it. You know what I'm saying? You didn't experience it, so you don't know what it was. Next question. Did you ever want to end your life? And was there ever a time you felt it was the only way? Symonia, did you ever want to end your life throughout this whole process?
I tried.
Mm-hmm. Natasha?
Twice. Yep.
Monica?
Yeah, I felt like I should have, at the time when it was all happening.
Wow. I just had a certain feeling of sadness just then. I don't know where that came from. You guys wanted to end your life because of somebody else's problem. It was their problem, but you didn't know it was their problem. And I'm just so glad that none of it worked. Who was it that said twice? Was it you, Natasha?
Yeah.
You said it twice. Why?
Depression took over.
Last question. Did you think that your love would cure them? Symonia?
Yes, I thought that I could love him into loving me back, love him into loving himself, love him into being a better person.
Monica?
Yes, I thought my love can make him change, that he would change into a whole different man, but it never happened.
Natasha?
No, I just, I had this thing. I always try to look for the best in people. I always had know people had the ability to change. That was almost always my mentality. Like I said, um, but that was my issue.
And the reason I ask those questions because a lot of those, based on the research that I read, those are some of the things that women stay for. And those are the same things that you guys stayed for. You thought you could love them. You thought they could change. You thought it was love. You probably thought it was cute. Oh, child, he is tripping. I can't look at nobody. Or this man is crazy. And you think that's love. And then it's like I'm listening to all of these stories, and 100% I know that there are a lot of people that have been where you guys were. I'm glad you all made it. But I want to definitely say something to the people that are watching the broadcast from you guys. You went through it. Symonia, Monica, Natasha, at any moment, you guys could have lost your life in this. Monica, you were knocked out. Mm-hmm. And, you didn't know if you were going to live or die. Symonia, you fought back. You probably would have killed him if you would have had a better aim. But Natasha, you came very close, girl. As you were talking, I was seeing all of it. As I was reading and listening to your story today, I was seeing all of it. You just don't realize that God was with you in that van. And he's the reason that bullet didn't get you. He is. 100%. I saw that. There was an angel that was in that van. The moment he dragged you in that van, God was with you. You might not have known him, but he knew you. And he was with you the entire time. You were meant to survive for this reason. You are walking in your purpose. And I'm telling you, I see a movie with your situation. I do. I see a movie. You finish doing what you're doing because I think that God is going to use you to help kids heal. And he's going to let your kids be a part of that. That's your nonprofit. You're going to actually really work with children because someone has to get these kids before they turn into adults. Because all these men that assaulted you guys, somewhere in their life, they saw something, experienced something, and nobody helped them heal. So this show and doing domestic violence is definitely not to beat up on the men, but it is to beat up on the sin. Okay? It is about getting rid of this thing that's putting us in this state over and over. And listen, something's not working because more and more people, guys, let me share with you guys some stats that I got today that were alarming. And I'm just like, we have to find a way to make this thing end because it's not getting any better. There are over 106,000 crimes reported for domestic violence, and over 63,000 of them are arrests. Why aren't there 106,000 arrests? Right? That was alarming to me. We have 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 men that are experiencing sexual violence and domestic violence. That means 1 out of every 3 women you see, at least 1 of them are going through what you guys went through. And men, this is not a woman thing. I've interviewed men on my broadcast that were going through domestic violence. 20 people per minute are going through domestic violence. A typical day, guys, more than 20,000 calls are placed to the hotline. 20,000 calls. Every 3 seconds, a woman is assaulted. This is the leading cause of injury to women right now in this country. And last but not least, 1/2 of all women and children that you see that are fleeing, they're fleeing from domestic violence. It has to end, guys. We got to keep doing shows like this. Women like these women coming here, being brave, telling their stories. Anything you guys want to say before we get out? I know I held you guys a little longer tonight, but we had to, right? At any moment, y'all know you could have done like the church and just kind of, okay. But you stayed, and I'm so excited because these stories are great, and I'm glad these women got to share. What would you guys like to say before we get out of here to your family, friends, and to the people that are watching that may be in the same situation?
Your voice matters no matter what you think.
Yes.
Symonia, what would you like to say before we get out?
I just want to echo that you matter and you need to stand up, call someone. Don't stop fighting. Don't give up on you because you're important.
Amen. And Monica?
Same. And I do want to thank my family, and my boyfriend Warren, because without them I wouldn't have been here at all. I would have still been hiding with him and probably would have not talked to my family until I got healed up and would have been with him for the longest. But they got me out of that situation, and they pushed me to, you know, become strong. And without them, honestly, I wouldn't have been here.
Well, I definitely want you to keep talking to people, Monica, because I feel like you really need it. I do. I feel like you seem like somebody that you're like, oh, this is but I just feel you stronger here than anyone tonight. I don't know why. Okay. So whatever that is, I'm gonna pray that God will help us through it. And I pray for your baby Eris.
Thank you.
That a healthy delivery, get that epidural. No need to be brave, baby. Okay, there's no reason. Don't be brave.
Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself.
It ain't like what you see on TV. Okay, it hurts, baby. All right,
definitely.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, you get your little help. And congratulations on your. I know you're still in newlywed phase, Symonia. So you know what, girl, you ain't gotta fake it no more, right? Do you? And for you, Natasha, I wish you many sales on your book. I'm going to go on tonight. I would love for all of you, please support her and go on Amazon and purchase her book. Hopefully I don't forget. But if you don't see my name come through, said Miss Ella, it's okay to check me. It's okay. Because I want to. It's just that sometimes, like right now, I'm starving. So I'm getting ready to go to Bahama Breeze right now. Right? Because it's just, girl is hungry. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for coming on my show. Yes.
Just before we go, also girlmetoo.com. We have a lot of books on there, including Absolutely You, Your Guide to Self-Healing, One Mirror at a Time. We have adult activity books, different things like that. And we have motivational t-shirts. I think the one I have on now says, I don't know how, I just know that. Because we don't always know how we're going to get out of a situation or how we're going to accomplish something. We just know that we are.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are these adult activity books? What is that?
It's almost like color therapy for adults and different puzzles. It's meant to activate, to almost distract your mind so that you're not so focused. So color therapy is really good. And it's different than when we were children because it's very intricate. So it's something that kind of takes your mind. The book also has motivational speeches in it. The book that's not on the website that I have to put on there, The Audacity to Write Your Vision. Now Make It Plain. And it's just about manifesting and speaking life into your life. I
love it. Awesome. Well, we got to bring you back and talk more about that. Ladies, listen, once you're on the Ella Johnson Show, you are family, you're a friend for life. At any time I do domestic violence shows or any reason you want to come back to the show, you guys are all more than welcome. You're in now. We're sisters. I'm Auntie Ella to Eris now, Monica. All right.
Yes. Thank you.
But we want to definitely do something for the baby. So keep us in the loop on that. All right. The Ella Johnson Show wants to definitely send a gift to the baby when she's born, because she's family too. I might give her the Ella Johnson Show shirt. I might get her a onesie for the Ella Johnson Show. What?
Yeah, I'm donating a shirt that my favorite line is "I'm God's poem." So she has a Girl Me Too shirt coming from us as well. So just keep Ella in the loop. And Ella will keep me in the loop, and we'll make it happen.
In the loop.
I will definitely keep you guys in the loop. Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you again right here next week. I have another true story next week, guys. You don't want to miss this one either. But we'll be back. You guys have a great week. Remember my motivational message. Are you the carrot, the egg, or the coffee bean? All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Have a great week. And you guys don't go anywhere. I want to chat with you guys before we go, okay? So just stay right there. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Ella Johnson Show. We'll see you next time.
We are supporters of the Ella Johnson Show. We live in South Korea. We have been watching Ella Johnson Show for like a year now. And we love her show. Her show is very inspirational, motivational, and educational.
Hey, Mom, I'm right there. I'll be right there.
If you would like to be a guest on the Ella Johnson Show, send an email to theellajohnsonshow@gmail.com or send a text message to 407
334-6997.
We love Ella Johnson Show.